But anyway, I won't get into that.
Yeah.
The couple of things we want to talk about. I want to go over before we get started. The incident that happened in Spring High School last week. You know, it's kind of like when the shooting up in Connecticut happened. It almost made every school district across the country question and reevaluate and kind of do a little self-reflection on what they were doing as a district as it related to security from the outside. And then the incident last week is basically the same thing for the district, for schools across the state of Texas who were made aware of that and paid attention to that. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I mean, what happened. The thing I do want, I think is relevant to this group, to our community, is what are the things that are going on within our schools that we're trying to do to prevent something like that from ever happening. And I will tell you that incident, like the Sandy Hook incident, could happen anywhere, in any school, in any town, in any community, if the students wanted it to happen. Just like the gentleman in Sandy Hook wanted to shoot up the school, that was going to happen. And so the thing that we emphasize here, and let me cut to the chase. We do not make every kid walk through a metal detector every day. We do not. We do on our alternative campuses, where our students have been placed for either disciplinary, behavioral issues, that if they're at that campus, Crossroads and our alternative learning center, the two I'm referring to, those students every morning go through a full-blown metal detector and search. But at our comprehensive high schools, at Kerr High School, and at Early College High School, we do not, they do not. I don't know that we could do that. We'd have to start school at 5 in the morning to make sure that they are have them start doing it at 5 in the morning to make sure they got into class. So I will say what I kind of said in the position I took back in December. You try to prevent, or you try to plan, and you try to put things in place to prevent the most heinous of acts from taking place. Then we'll be here all day trying to solve that problem. So what you do is you try to put things into place to make sure that you are able to either react to it or, in many cases, prevent it. And I will tell you, and I don't know if you read any of the articles after last week, but when the folks writing articles about this began asking so-called experts on security and safety in public schools across the country, every one of them had the same answer. Metal detectors are not their answer. That is not the answer. Wands are not the answer. Clear backpacks are not the answer. No lockers are not the answer. The first answer that every district has to work on, every campus has to work on, is relationships with kids. It's building a relationship with your student population. And if you can create a culture within your campus to where most students feel comfortable either talking to someone, reporting it, whether it's through Crime Stoppers or whether it's through an anonymous note or whether it's just walking up to some adult in the building and saying, hey, that guy, I saw him with a knife or whatever it may be. If you can build that type of culture and that type of trust, that is the most efficient, the most effective way to make sure things like this don't happen. Doesn't mean it's going to prevent it, but you have to have that first. You have to have that first. In this district, if you look over here on the sign over here, that red poster has been in existence for 6, 7, 8 years, I don't know how many years. Wish it would have been my idea, but if you'll notice the first thing is meaningful relationships, meaningful work. And those are more than just words. And if y'all recall, last year about this time, we had our Safe and Civil Schools department here talking about safety and security. And purposefully, we didn't talk about metal detectors and games and all of that. We talked about, the first thing we talked about in this district is trying to build relationships with kids. All the other issues, all the bad issues are there. We have to deal with those. But you can't deal with them effectively unless you have a good, strong relationship with your students. So that's what we preach, and that's what we're going to continue preaching. I've talked to a couple of parents who have called, and I've told them exactly what I'm telling you. So we're not in a position or a point where I believe we need to put a metal detector in every single entryway 5th grade, 5 weapons, three knives, what constitute a knife, 2 handguns, I believe. 1 handgun was found in the bushes somewhere, and another handgun was found in a vehicle. That's not to say that we don't have a knife, being carried around occasionally by students. But typically, in this school district in particular, students talk, and so that's kind of what we have to lean on and rely on a lot of times. The message I sent to our staff after that a couple of days later was simply don't ignore these situations between kids that you sometimes brush off as just they have a little feud going, they have something going on. Don't ignore those. Make sure adults, make sure administrators, make sure counselors, make sure law enforcement knows that Mike and Don have been kind of going at it for the last couple of days, even though they haven't gotten into it. Something's brewing, I can just tell. Don't ignore that. Bring them in and confront them and let the kids know that we know that we're paying attention. If you do simple things like that, it's easier said than done in big high schools, but if you do those things, you can really get things off. So anyway, we reevaluated how we would handle that situation if God forbid it occurred at one of our schools. That's kind of how we're approaching it. It happened, and we're prepared in case it does, and we're doing everything we can do to prevent it from happening. All right. Any questions on that?
Just a quick comment. There's a op-ed piece in today's Chronicle from a woman that's a teacher and also a parent. And her take on it is that the relationships need to be a lot stronger between the students and the parents. There's a lot of breakdown there. Not necessarily saying that the school's not at fault, but just saying there's a societal problem here that's a lot deeper than just this.
Oh yeah, we could spend the next month talking about that. But in the relationships I think that sign is referring to in our school district, in many cases has to take the place of the lack of a relationship with their home.
Correct.
They just don't come to it with it. We have to teach a lot of these kids how to be in an adult-teacher relationship or an adult-child relationship. Someone else was doing it.
Ironically, a student had a knife yesterday, and like you said, the students, they do talk, which is a blessing. And one of the students anonymously came, it was during lunch period, the board had a nice size knife. And fortunately, we were able to deal with the situation, and come to find out his mom has cancer. He got a lot of stuff going on in the home. So it was really kind of scary because it was like, oh my God, this just happened last week, and we're all like, So it was good to see how everyone responded, because I work with the assistant principals and stuff, and how they responded so calmly in addressing the situation and not making it alarming. But it was scary to think about what that child is facing in his own personal life as well. It was a double-edged sword kind of situation.
I have 2 statements. One is a question about the survival training. I saw survival training on television as far as some of the school districts, not necessarily in Texas. They go through survival training, teaching them how to throw books and lock doors or lock yourself in a room. Does Alief participate in any of that, or is there any was there any mention of maybe training or having volunteer training for the teachers or the educators on that level? And the second part is to bring meaning to the meaningful relationships with these students. I've noticed in just my 3 weeks of teaching at Mahaney that relationships are so crucial. I've watched kids go to other teachers' classrooms and act up and then be asked, can they sit in my room because of the relationship that I've built already with these students? And you cannot underestimate that, how they respond to you and how much of a positive impact that you have on their lives, even the most troubled kids. So the meaningful relationships mean a lot to me, because I think first and foremost, that's what I'm there for, to show them that I care and that I'm not going to be gone next year or 3 months down the line or a month down the line, because many of them have those fractures and that's what they're used to.
Right. To your first question on the survival skills, I think every teacher goes through that every day. Last year we began, and I'm not sure where we are this year with it.
We're doing the same thing, plus an enhanced version of that that's similar to that. It's called intruderology, but it's coming out this fall.
Okay.
we started doing it last year at several campuses where we had individuals coming in teaching teachers, just, so I'll use the term survival skills, but if you were ever in a situation, here's how you defend yourself, whether it's in a classroom or you may be in a parking lot of a mall.
Right.
That type of thing, So anyway, I didn't mean to get off it, but I wanted to address that because that's obviously a current event, if you will, and we are not ignoring it, and I don't think most districts are ignoring it. So with that, I'm gonna introduce a couple of folks that are going to spend a little bit of time talking about something that I think is getting, well, I don't think, it's becoming more and more a part of what we do in K-12. And we've talked at length in the past about House Bill 5 and how House Bill 5 created some flexibility, and hopefully at the end of the day, it's going to be something that's going to give more meaning towards having students have a more purposeful experience while in middle school and high school as it relates to things that they're interested in. Every one of us, when we went through school, every one of us took I don't know what you called it back in your day, but every one of us took a VOTEC class, right? I was telling Bill and Kim, I mean, my 7th or 8th grade, I made a fish, which was a rod and reel holder.
Yeah.
Remember that? I sanded it down and stained it, and I still have it to this day hanging in my garage. It's in my garage.
Yeah,
I
built
also
to last.
I made a stool that I broke 30 years ago. But anyway, that is obviously changed over the years. And so I've asked Bill Marshall and Kim Crow to Bill's our director of career technology and Kim's coordinator. Kim does all the work, right?
I just appreciate it.
And I've asked them to come and share with you kind of what we're doing in this district as it relates to creating opportunities for students to have meaningful courses in areas in which there are going to be meaningful jobs. And the one thing that I believe has refocused K-12 has started focusing on is more of where is the labor market driving higher ed. If it's driving higher ed, it should be driving K-12. So I've asked them to come and just share with you kind of what we're doing, what they see as happening in the future. And if you will, for those of you who recall, kind of think about the House Bill 5 conversations we've had about the endorsements and the flexibility and how this is going to kind of jive together as we work through this. Mike?
Last year, we had a meeting on a Saturday for people who were interested in vocational programs, et cetera. We met over at Crump. Are we going to do something similar to that this year? Because there really wasn't any follow-up on it.
On career tech?
Yeah.
On Saturday?
Yeah.
It wasn't Saturday.
Did y'all do your
Weekday.
Was it Saturday? Was it a weekday? Okay, this is the summertime then. Okay.
There we go.
Well, unless it was, I'm not sure.
Some kids got out of school.
I know last year this group did a tour of the district.
No, this was a separate
This was
thing.
something?
We met over at Crump, up on that second store.
Yeah, right, we had an advisory group.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right, what we were trying to do at that time was focus in on career areas, workforce areas, focus and develop programming.
Well, I never really heard much out of it after that, and I didn't know what happened,
We
so.
will update you now.
Okay.
Absolutely. We want to work on that. To give you a little bit of segue into the brains of the outfits discussion here. Kimberly has been doing a fantastic job of trying to pull together all these different segments to create.
Bill, one second, I'm sorry.
Hey, hold on. I'm sorry, I had to go to a church meeting when I was to be a speaker. But you remember last meeting we had, I threw out a question.
The trivia.
And I had one wrong answer already. It was the first school for the high school built in the United States. And I thought everyone would start Googling. Has anyone come up with the right answer?
You told us not to Google.
You said don't Google.
Oh, I did. That's right.
I did, so I give up. I
They came to my office and rushed and said, a kid has a name with him in the courtyard. And they gave me his name, and I knew him real well. I went to the cafeteria running like hell. I never should have done that because they had a crowd behind me. But he had his stomach in his chin. And if I didn't have a good relationship with that kid, I'd be dead now. I'd be dead now. So that relationship building is so critical. It is extremely critical for any type of positive education experience for these kids. Parenting skills are going out the window for many of these kids. So it's very important that we adopt and, stand in where these parenting skills are like. So I'm doing all I can to work with these students. And the program we're going to this church is a brotherhood program that deals with parenting skills. But I hate to have to leave, but I want to at least make the parents find out who was the lucky one that came up with the answer. Well, I'll come up with another one next week. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Vera has shown up. I think this is your first.
Yeah, the first time.
Well, thank you for being here.
And my pleasure to be here too.
You come on a good night. I'm not speaking. All right, sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. I think what Mr. Martin was referring to at that time was we were trying to get advisory input from community leaders. And to touch back on the whole relationship theme, one of the ways we can establish that relationship with the students is to understand what their interests are. And when we understand what their interests are, we can provide programming which they're engaged in. And if they're engaged in that activity, then we can really start working towards a progress, a forward-moving support mechanism for them. So it all comes together in our program selections and that student's interests, and of course the workforce needs. And what our responsibility is to try to prepare students to enter either workforce or any post-secondary opportunity, whether it's school, technical, or directly into the workforce. And so what Kimberly is going to talk about today is a little bit of the process that we go through to get to that stage, what we've actually been doing, identify some of the programming so that you can become familiar with what CTE and Alief has to offer. And then we'll have a question and answer session afterwards so we can drill down a little further in areas that interest you.
Basically, I just want to go a little bit over the structure. I know that Mr. Chambers introduced Bill, and he is the Director of Instructional Tech and Career and Technical Education. I'm Kimberly Crone, I'm the coordinator. We do have a program manager, and then we have student development specialists. And our student development specialists and then our campus career advisors, they are the ones that are in the trenches really getting to know these students, talking to the students about what opportunities there are in Alief for your participation. The campus career advisors are housed at our 3 large comprehensive high schools. They work with 9th through 12th grade, and they do reach down into the 8th grade level when we need them. Our student development specialists are the ones who are constantly talking at the middle school level about what is going on in career and tech, what are your options in high school. And I will say this also, we don't just talk about CTE. When we go into one of our career and tech classes at the middle school level, when a student tells us that they're interested in fine arts, or they tell us that they're interested in athletics, we don't look at them and say, oh, sorry, we don't have anything to discuss with you. We go ahead and talk to them about the importance of planning, regardless of whether they're choosing our programs or not. So, back in 2011 and 12, the board decided that we should be a priority because they recognized the need in the community to develop programs that were going to provide students with multiple opportunities for post-secondary. Post-secondary can be a certificate program after high school, it can be an associate's degree, it can be a college or a university. But regardless of what we are tasked with, we're supposed to have students being college and career ready. So one of the things that they talked to us about was that utilizing the Chief Texas cluster model, developing more coherent sequence students. And these are students who have made a commitment. So basically you have to have had two or more courses for 3 or more credits while you're in high school to be considered a coherent sequence participant in CTE. But the biggest thing that they tasked us with is the career cluster model, the Chief Texas model, is based upon 16 clusters. And they say that every single job in the United States fits into one of these clusters. Okay? So regardless, how many of you remember the Occupational Outlook Handbook? It's been around for years. They published it every year. I'm proud to say they don't always publish it hardback now. It's available electronic, and you can do all kinds of neat searches with it. So what they said is every job in there fits into one of these 16 clusters. Alief, we currently offer course work within 14 of the 16 clusters, but the board wanted us to focus down a little bit more. And they said, we're not going to say we're doing away with the programs that are already in place. We are saying that what we want to make sure we are doing is offering a full coherent sequence opportunity in the cluster areas that are going to meet the workforce needs for the local, regional, and state, as well as those and then to create the future opportunities for students. So then we moved to 1213, and we were charged with increasing opportunities for meaningful certifications and post-secondary credits with local community colleges within the top 8 clusters. So we moved forward to this year, and you see that we still are part of the board priority where they relate to continuing the Achieve Texas pathway, and our 3 tasks that we're charged with is collaborating with post-secondary institutions for certificate opportunities, increasing dual credit and articulated credit opportunities for students while they're in high school, and then developing pathways, providing industry certifications and/or the dual credit and articulated credit opportunities. So this is what we are focused on. This is what we think about every single day and everything we do.
Kim, go back real quick. Talk just a little bit more about the dual credit.
Dual credit is when you are actually co-enrolled. You are taking a high school course while at the same time you are taking a college course that will be immediately transcripted to a high school diploma and a college diploma. An articulated credit means that you are taking the high school course, the local school district has an agreement with the local community college that says that upon graduation from your high school plan and enrollment in the community college in a degree associated with that articulated course, it will become transcripted. It's like you're putting it into the bank, you're depositing it into a savings account, and then once you enroll, and primarily most of our agreements are with HCC, once you enroll in HCC in a degree plan that's related to that, those courses then are put onto your transcript, so you do not have to repeat them while you're in college. So moving forward, we are working very hard to develop and implement all of these opportunities. And I have that in red because this is going to be a theme throughout as we talk about this. So, and then we're also always trying to increase our number of coherent sequence students, because this coherent sequence students means that those are those kids who are getting more college credit taken care of through that articulated process. Our capstone, what I call our capstone programs, which are our senior level classes, there's some of our advanced classes, our practical classes. They provide the students with more real-life industry exposure, whether it's on-the-job training, whether it's in a work-based learning environment here in the lab, such as our culinary arts program. Those kids run a restaurant. And so that's real-world experience that's relevant to where they are right now, but preparing them for the next step. We're also looking at our middle school programs and trying to realign them to start becoming that breeding ground, so speak, for the students moving forward and finding them. And then we're always tasked with meeting all the Perkins and then performance-based monitoring required standards. So, Perkins is the Carl D. Perkins Act. Carl D. Perkins Act was the vocational act way back when. But it is our primary source of funding. It is based upon your total enrollment as compared to your low socioeconomic. It comes from the federal government, it comes into the state, and then the state allocates it to our district. And it can only be used on career technical education.
And PBMAS?
And PBMS is the performance-based monitoring system, and it is how we are held accountable. It looks at the programs in the state at the state level that receive the federal funding. So it looks at No Child Left Behind, looks at Career and Tech, it looks at bilingual ESL, LEP, and then it looks at special education.
And our reports just came in our CTE program.
If you look at the green successful poster in your folder, you will see that when we talk about those meaningful relationships a little bit, if you go to that center portion of it where it talks about our results on our end of course exams, and this is only data that is looked at from, it only looks at our coherent sequence takers. It does not look at all students who participate in CTE. It only looks at those that are, and you see that we had 100% of our students pass math EOC. We had 100% pass the reading. We had 94.7 pass the science. We had 100% on social studies, 94 on the writing. But I think the most impressive of all is if you look at our CTE graduation rate down there at the bottom, and that is all about relationships. That is all about those students having more contact with those teachers over time and building that relationship. So, yes, I am a little bit proud of that.
That's very, very impressive.
This came, we got this yesterday. And then if you also kind of look over here on the other side, the other thing that I'm really proud about is that 89.7% of our coherent sequence takers in 11-12, because this data is about a year behind. Our test data is current, but it takes them a while to figure out, graduated on the recommended or distinguished plan. So the graduating class of 2012, of the CTE coherent sequence takers, 89.7% of them were on the recommended or distinguished plans.
So this is an indicator of the rigor of the curriculum. This is what's happening in those courses, along with building the rod and reel holders and gun racks. There's a lot of sophisticated rigor in the curriculum in science and math.
Okay, so moving forward, where we want to, the first thing we started looking at was the workforce needs for local, regional, and state. And a lot of the data, we were going through this process in 10-11 and then 11-12, a lot of the data that was available was based upon the 2010 census. So where they said in the Gulf Coast job projections, this is where the jobs were going to be in 2020. Computer and mathematical occupations, architectural and engineering occupations, life, physical and social science, community and social services, education, training and library occupations, the arts, design, entertainment, sports, and media occupations. Most of those in that area are going to be in your graphic design and your computer-aided type of positions. They look at the healthcare. It was interesting that they broke it out from practitioners and technical to your support staff, because both of those are growing. Food preparation and service-related, construction and extraction. And the extraction for those, I had to kind of go and really research what the extraction meant. That is like your oil and gas industry, your installation, maintenance and repair, and your building and grounds cleaning and maintenance occupations. Those were where the majority of the jobs were. And so what we said then is we had to go look further at what were the specific types of jobs within those categories, and then where did they fit into the cluster model. We also don't want to just say to the Alief students at Alief, this is where we think you need to go get a job, and so therefore this is the only program we're going to offer you. We also look at career assessment. In Alief, we provide, one of the things that Perkins requires us to do is it requires us to provide all CTE students an opportunity to take a career assessment twice during their secondary career. So we look at that interest, and this is some data from last year. At the 7th grade level, 2,896 students took the first level interest assessment. At the 8th grade level, those students from the previous year revisited their CUDA result, and this just happens to be the brand of career assessment that we utilize, to develop their 4-year plans. Then in 9th grade, we like to have them revisit again, because a lot changes between 7th grade and 9th grade. And so we talk to them again, and then that's the type of data. Then we also look at new users, returning users, and so last year into the CUDA career assessment system, between August 1st and July 31st, we had 24,303 logins, which means students went in and took an assessment. That was not necessarily, but their accounts are for life. So once a student in Alief has done a CUDA assessment, it is for life.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. It is for life. So that's how we use that. So then we look at that data also. Where are the students' interests? And we constantly are looking at this, trying to track it, and matched with what are the workforce needs. And so 2 years ago, we identified these top 8 clusters to continue to focus upon. Architecture and construction, arts, AV, technology and communications, education and training, health science, hospitality, tourism, information technology, manufacturing, and then science, technology, engineering, and math.
Are those in order, or are they randomly up there?
They are alphabetical.
Okay.
I've learned with our group, you have to always put them alphabetically because they all want to know that. No, we don't. When you look at where those jobs are, this slide, those type of jobs are spread throughout all of those.
Okay.
They don't match specifically into any particular one. So that's what we started to focus on. So then we moved into, let's develop and implement opportunities. So currently, our school board has been very generous to us because they realize that the only way we're going to get more students onto and participating in these type of opportunities, they have given us additional teaching units that we've been able to place at the high school programs, either at the ninth grade center to start building the capacity in the introductory level courses, or further into some of the capstone programs so that we can complete. Because in the past, we might have one teacher who was teaching hospitality and education and training, and she had 3 preps, but it was kind of scattered. So if we're really going to start focusing on building the capacity for the students, we needed to start focusing on our staff as well. So the school board has been very generous in supporting that. We also had last year we had a 12% increase during last school year of students participating in CTE. And this was exciting for us. And then we also began partnering with HCC on some different projects. We began the discussions 2 years ago. Last year, we launched the Certified Nursing Assistant Program at the Bissonnette facility. We had approximately 19 students go through the program last year, and 14.5 have actually passed the certification. And when I say 0.5, because one passed the written but did not pass the skills. We are still continuing to support that student with the next round of skills assessment so that they'll be able to hopefully pass their skills. Then this year, and then last year we began doing our construction program here within the district. We couldn't go straight into dual credit opportunities with them at HEC at the Bissonnette facility because we needed to make sure they had the foundation to be successful there. With our health science program, we already knew we had a foundation because that's been one of our most successful programs over the years. We had already in district done a pharmacy technology program. We have students who go to the hospital on a clinical rotation. So we had a population of students that we could select from to see if they were interested in the CNA, and they were. So what we've started doing with construction now is we have our first 26 students who are seniors who are attending the HCC Bissonnette facility. They started last week. They are taking their first 2 dual credit courses. One is the LEAD course, which HCC requires all students to take. It's a student success course. And then they're also taking their industrial mathematics course. In the spring, they will be participating in plumbing and/or electrical. And then our plan for fall of 2014 will be to bring on the HVAC program there as well as we're talking to them about a construction technology helper certificate program. And these are all certificate programs, but all of the work that they do leads to an associate's degree. So it's not like they're doing it for nothing. It's more of the work-based type of programs rather than your kind of academic math and science and so forth. But it's a very good stepping stone for a student because it makes them immediately employable. And then if you are employable, you're going to make a little bit more money and you can afford to pay for college.
Can you use the CNA as an example of kind of what the route would be from the CNA to LDU?
Okay, our students who are participating in the CNA program, the minute that they pass the state board, they are eligible to apply for enrollment into HCC's Coleman Healthcare Academy. And the Coleman Healthcare Academy certificate then branches into the equivalent of an LVN program that can lead to the RN program. So everything builds into their route, and hopefully they will be able to complete that. One of the bonuses of doing the associate's degree into the RN is that there is a program in the state of Texas that does not require you to have a bachelor's degree to have an RN. You can be an associate's degree in nursing and then do the coursework, the content-specific coursework to become a registered nurse. It's that you're just not a Bachelor of Science in Nursing.
With our kids, the CNA in particular, which makes them employable, with a lot of our kids, them being able to go out and get a job with that certificate, earn enough money to pay for themselves to go to HCC and begin working on their next, whether it's the LVN certificate or the associate's degree. And that is just an example of what has been missing in K-9 State. It's been missing in the relationship between K-12 and community colleges. The types of programs allows kids to start in high school and just transition into 13th grade almost without anything, very seamlessly. And for our student population, this is huge. Same way with the pharmacy tech.
Yeah. We have a pharmacy tech program. One of the things we're constantly talking about, and of course HCC teases me, because I want to get as much under their belt while we still have them here in Alief as I possibly can. Because to me, our student population, to graduate from high school in May and to say by August, I could have the 6 more credit hours I need to have finished my associates or to have finished a certificate, a level 2 certificate program, means it's obtainable. I can do that. But if I'm starting at high school, if I'm starting the day after high school and I'm looking at and having to go take 60 hours, that's a little intimidating. It's intimidating to me. So I think with our students, the more that we can provide for them, the better opportunity we have.
And that automatic enrollment to Pullman College is that's an excellent partnership we have because that's not an easy school for students to get into. So for our students to complete this program, we have that automatic acceptance. That's really a huge plus for our kids. So we're feeling really good.
And it also sets them up for that opportunity when they reach an age when they can do some of the testing to get to the next level. We've already prepared them. They don't have this large scope of courses to take. When they reach the age, they've got the background information, and they can legally be certified to take the test and then move on. They're ready.
And that's the other thing with the CNA. One of the things that we're working towards, right now it's a standalone. We are working towards having our own healthcare academy within HCC here within the district so that we're even providing on more of those steps prior to. It's a building process.
Well, we also have West Houston Hospital right down the street, who's very interested and engaged in being able to hire some of these people. When we talk to them about their job openings and their time fields, it's amazing the positions that are open because they can't find students. Again, doesn't have to have an associate, doesn't have a bachelor's degree, but there are jobs out there that they were ready to fill, making $25 an hour.
And be careful what you wish for because now we struggle with keeping some of these kids in high school because they have their certifications and we have a job. We're like, okay, I'm going. We're like, oh,
That's the wonderful thing about pharmacy technician. They cannot be recommended to the National Pharmacy Board to take that test until their diploma has been declared. And so that's our holding over them. Our CNAs who finished last year at Christmas, in the fall semester, there were several who were 18. They were ready to go out and to get the jobs. But their one thing that held back is a lot of the employers want them to have that high school diploma. So the good news is the employers are enforcing that. I just hope none of the students ever realize I can go get that GED and go on. Because right now, so the other thing that we look at is industry certifications because we realize a lot of times there are stepping stones to your achievement. So one of our things that we don't just look at the certificate programs through HCC, and we don't just look at the dual credit and the college credit. It's what can we give you right now that is going to give you the step above the person that you're applying next to in a job. And that's where the industry recognized certifications come in. And last year we had 1,142 certifications received by students. And these are anything from a safety test in automotive SV2. Our automotive program is NATEF certified, and one of the components of being certified nationally to give contact hours towards the ASE. When you drive up to the auto mechanic shop and you see ASE certified technicians or master technician, that's who you want working on your car because they have to renew those certificates on an annual basis. But prior to being able to sit for that exam, you have to have had so many years of experience or so many contact hours. So if a student completes all 4 of our module, it's two courses, and each of them cover 2 modules within it, which is brakes, automotive, brakes, engine performance, steering and suspension, and electrical. If you compete all 4 of those, it basically takes off 2 years of work experience. They recognize the hour, the commitment time you made in those classes under a nationally certified program, and they remove 2 years of required work experience prior to sitting for your exam. Then if you leave here and you go on to a community college that is also a NATEF program, and you graduate with your associate's degree, they take 2 more years off. So basically at the age of 20, you can sit for your ASE exam, where if you came out of high school and you had not done any of this work, you would not be able to sit for your exam until you were 24 years old, until you had 6 years experience. So that's the program. But this is one of the safety classes. We also are constantly looking for new and better opportunities. So sometimes you see that we've taken an exam out, or we've added an exam. Sometimes our numbers fluctuate because we decide to try something new. And we might decide, that one really didn't end in a certificate for the student. It may have been, maybe we don't like the curriculum. We're always, we want to do what's best for the student. So these are some of the exams. The career readiness is an interesting one. It is actually a work keys, and it's nationally recognized. And a student comes out based upon their score with a silver, bronze, or gold. No. So silver, gold, or platinum score. And this is actually nationally recognized in industry. Many industries down along our own ship channel and down along that actually when they hire you and you have a 90-day waiting period, before they determine if you're really going to become a permanent employee, they run you through this curriculum. And what it does is it makes you think about how you, there's math involved, there's reading comprehension. It's also how you process data in a manufacturing environment. It is part of the lead course on a lot of the HCC workforce programs that have anything to do with construction, manufacturing, and those type of things. Our students are already receiving it. We had 92 of them receive it last year. We also, like our CNA, our floral certifications. The IB goes with the pharmacy technician because evidently pharmacists who work pharm techs who work, in order for them to administer a medication into an IV bag to prepare it to go to a patient's room, they have to have a special certification.
Right.
It's been fascinating. I've learned a lot about these things. And then we have the OSHA Career Safe, and we have the OSHA General Industry. The Career Safe is something that even our students who are going to West Houston to do their clinical rotation, which is strictly observational, they have requested that they do this because it covers the basics of OSHA. General Industry is our welding students. CertSafe is our culinary students. Then welding qualifications we are not able to certify. Industry no longer wants you to go out and come in with a particular certification. Most industry that have a large manufacturing base want you to come in with what is called a qualification. Then while you work there, you become industry certified through them. They certify you. And part of the reason is because I could go get my AWS, which is American Welding Certification program, the American Welding Society certification, when I'm 22 years old. And that doesn't mean when I'm 42 that I've kept my skills up. It was a lifelong certification. So this is how industry has counteracted that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Well, a comment. I think the Microsoft specialist and that customer service certification, that's impressive. I mean, just from an industry perspective, and having a good support team is important. I struggle with that at work. I'm at the higher end. And the second thing, what I don't know is cosmetology. I know that's to me, I went to college with girls in HIG who they would get their cosmetology in high school and they would make them live in the dorm. So is that something that students aren't interested in?
I think we probably have students who are interested in cosmetology. The thing that I always have to say is cosmetology is a very, very expensive program to put in. Okay. And the success rate on the state exam is not so great that you would warrant it. It's something that we might consider someday if the pockets were endless. But we also, other districts have it. There are districts who keep it. It's very hard to find a teacher. It's very hard to find a qualified teacher now because when they're out in industry making what some of those people make, the ones that you would want to come in and excite the girls and to teach them aren't necessarily the ones that are available to come in.
It's also very hour intensive.
It's very hour intensive now because they've added, it's constant. They have to have over 1,000 hours of contact time in their senior year alone.
So that's a lot of dedication.
I did that in high school.
Okay.
And I can attest to that. It is extremely a tedious program. I lived in another state, but the program in itself is extremely tedious. And I was triple enrolled. I was in college, cosmetology school and high school because I was pretty much done with all my high school credit hours. But cosmetology, it's extremely intense. A lot of contact that a lot of children don't have the liberty to do.
So I think we have lots of conversations about cosmetology. I mean, we do.
It's constant.
It's great though. It really is great.
Bill can speak to this better, but I mean, if you were to survey kids, cosmetology is going to be in the list. Here's the issue that we are running into. More, when I say we, this is public campus statement. The more we begin moving to a more research-based set of courses and set of programs that you can offer, research, meaning, going back to the slides you had earlier about where's the work going to be? Where's the jobs going to be? Where are the meaningful wages going to be? There are a lot of programs that are going to be popular, cosmetology being one of them, that are not going to register on that. And so the districts and the campuses who do currently offer a cosmetology program, they typically did it when they built their school. Because the facility you have to have has to meet whatever the requirements are for a salon or for a.
Then it has to pass state inspection and all.
Yeah, I've been there in another district where we've added, when we built it on it was extremely expensive. So anyway, so there are going to be those types of programs where, yes, the question is, yes, there is a desire, there is people would like to have it. We have to ask ourselves, what are the most meaningful programs we have for the consultation? We have to.
And want to have the students successful, because to me, it would just be, to have them go all the way through a 2-year.
Right, it's almost
and not be successful, just.
an ROE for the students, a return on their effort. And if you look at that Microsoft certification, the percentage of new job entrants that are being scanned by employees, they'll just come right out and say, need not apply unless you have these skills.
Right.
Don't go any further in the application
Right.
unless you've already got.
Right. Right, that's true.
Kimberly, tell them for a second about our culinary arts and the letter we received from Eagle Chris. You may not know about what we.
Okay, we actually have a very recognized culinary arts program here in the district. I guess we made the transition from a home economics program to food production to culinary arts a few years ago. And I can say that because I was a homemaking teacher. So, but our culinary arts program, our students, it is a 2-year-long program. Some of them actually take a principal's class that determines that that's what they're interested in. We have a couple of entry ways that they can come into it. They apply to be into the program. They're accepted in the program. The first year, they basically are learning the basics. That's where they receive their ServSafe certification. That's where they move forward. And that makes them actually a licensed food handler, and they can actually be a licensed food manager. And the City of Houston requires you to take an exam, but if you are ServSafe certified, you do not have to take the City of Houston exam. They recognize that as being industry specific. And based upon a relationship back when Eagles Trace was coming in, the Erickson community over on Highway 6 was being developed, they came to our school, they came to Alief, and they said, we are interested in a partnership of some type that we can have students come and work. And so through our co-op programs or our career preparation programs that place students out into the community working, we started this collaboration effort of taking culinary kids who were seniors who had completed the program and putting them into career preparation and placing them at Erickson. Well, Erickson, the whole Erickson organization has a wonderful program that for every year you've worked there, you basically are guaranteed so many scholarship dollars. And this past summer, they honored 11 of our students who had graduated from Alief within the last year or so with a scholarship program to continue their education. We have actually gone so far as not just to place our culinary students, we actually, as they opened their pharmacy program there, one of our students who had graduated from our pharmacy technician program, he actually went to work there. He did his career prep there while he was taking his pharm tech, and now he actually went on he's at U of H. And so these are just some of the examples of how the community working with us, because of the opportunities we provided and the training we provide to students, we're being able to place them in employment that's also going to lead to scholarships.
What's Erickson? I'm not familiar.
Erickson is a retirement community, and it's called Eagles Trace, and it's on Highway 6 between Briar Forest and Memorial. Between Memorial
So
and
Erickson is the actual
Erickson's
company
the national
that owns
company
the-
name.
Okay.
And they do this model in every community they go in because they have determined that when the community has kind of supports them, or that when they support the community, they find that they have a better workforce.
True.
And I think they gave 12 scholarships this year and 11 were our students.
One was Weston Side High School.
The other part of the culinary arts program for us, if you guys went on that tour last year, you had lunch at Ernie's Bistro, which is completely operated by students, with adults. But it's a full-blown restaurant and meets all the qualifications and standards that the health department requires of it. So
And we talked a little bit about this, the College of Career Readiness, and like I said, we cover 14 of the 16 career clusters. We have 69 plus courses, and I say plus because we're constantly adding. I can't keep count of the number. Our work-based learning programs, that would be like our culinary lab, our real-world experience, as well as our work-based programs where we place students out in the community. We have a hotel internship program at the Marriott West Chase. We have, where 20 to 22 students get to go. They go there at Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. They spend 2 hours there a day. Actually, the Marriott feeds them lunch as well so that we can tap into their lunch a little bit, get them a little more experience. And they do rotations through the front of the house and the back of the house in all aspects of the hotel management industry. We do have students then who leave that program and go on and get a job at Marriott. Marriott ends up hiring quite a few of them for after-hours catering events and stuff because of the experience that they've gained there. We also have students, a lot of our students, the last count I had is we have 36 students employed at Shell this year, at the various divisions of Shells through our practical programs at our 3 different high schools. We also work to, all of our pacing calendars, all of our curriculum is tied into the College of Career Readiness standards, and like I said earlier, we provide that articulated in dual credit opportunities. We have 25 different plans of study with Houston Community College, which means there's 25 different degree plans or pathways that students can earn credits for a total of 83 courses, and they cross over 10 clusters. San Jacinto Community College is where we have our automotive program articulated to, because they are the only NATEF/Automotive Youth Excellent program in the Houston area. Le Notre also has articulated all of our culinary classes. And then the Culinary Institute of America, which is actually in New York, recognizes our program, and they articulate our classes as well. And they also count our students' time in the 2 classes towards their required internship practicum hours when they go towards graduation. And that's that. Questions?
Yeah, Kimberly has an incredible capacity for remembering this data. And for those of us who may not have that, she also put together some of the data that she did go over.
Yes, I like it too. And this is actually a tool that I want to share. The Texas Genuine was a grant that each of the region service centers received. And it's supposed to be promoting that post-secondary piece, that next step at the community college level for developing workforce. And fortunately, our own Mr. Marshall served on the committee that developed this, but our person at Region 4 decided to take it to a tool that we realized that our biggest problem is reaching high school parents to know that career and technical education is okay. I recently got an article, and kind of taken off of what Mr. Chambers said earlier that somebody sent, and the title of the article is, "This isn't your parents' vocational program anymore." And so, but there's a lot of people who are thinking, oh, my kid's going to college, and they don't realize that this is where the jobs are. So they decided to work a little bit reverse, because they get a lot of students into the workforce development programs at the age of 25, once they've gone out to the world and realized that there's nothing else I can do. A lot of them come back with bachelor's degrees in fields that they cannot find employment, and they go back and get the certificate programs. And so if we could fix that on the other end, so that is why they developed it from the marketing really to the high school level, to the element to middle school parent type level, and developing it and giving the data to show the transition of, and I laugh at some of the pictures.
Well, when we were putting together this task force to design this brochure, we were really trying to say what is going to have the most impact. On the front cover of that brochure, it brings us from the very classes that Mr. Chambers and I were talking about, what it was when we went to school and what it is now. We had to do that in a fashion where people could relate to that, and then looking forward, what are some of the supportive data that we need? And so it was
and I have to say this, the next little triangle here is going to be House Bill 5. Because House Bill 5 and all the pathways that students are going to be participating in is going to be that next preparation level that we're looking at for students.
the next version of that.
Questions?
I have a question. Okay. So what are we doing to market? Have we tried using like the PTOs, the booster clubs, those kinds of things to get the words out about, this is not your parents' workforce anymore, it's something new?
I honestly never thought about the PTAs and the,
Yeah.
we got around.
Well, now that
And the booster clubs, I think that's a great idea. We do a lot at the middle school level. One of the things we started doing last year, even down into the elementary schools, is we started providing a lot of our students who are our senior students who are participating in our capstone programs to be that link between an adult and the kids at our career days. There were about 16 kids, and they went to about 23 different career days last year. And like we actually had high school students. So we're also trying to get the message there. As far as, and then I know that through our counseling department, we've done a lot of the Achieve Texas presentations to parents. We've been present at the College and Career Readiness. We're always at the College and Career Night, even though it's all about the colleges and all of that. We're in the outside hallway, available with any information, and we're not picky about what age group you are in. We start talking about it. But I like the idea. I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down. So
The last time I saw it was when we were presenting that community presentation on tech plans and the future of that. And as you knew, there were only 4 or 5 people that showed up. So I think we do need to be thinking about the push and the pull of marketing. How can we push the information out to folks that don't come and pull it from us? That's a good suggestion.
I like the PTOs and booster clubs. Yes.
The last slide had the CIA in there, you talked about practicum hours and so forth. Is there also a dual credit opportunity as well? I mean, I'm not sure what the numbers on the right meant, the 3 and the 1.
You articulated technical credits.
Right.
That's just the number of courses that we have articulated to those particular.
So the CIA could have a graduating student have 3 classes?
Absolutely. If I have a student who is going to go to the Culinary Institute of America, when they enroll from Alief ISD, there are 9 credit hours. Or the 3 courses. So it depends. The principal's level class is usually the introductory level is a 2-credit college. But then some of the but when you get into the advanced culinary, because of the amount of time they spend, that could be a 4-credit because it has a lab component.
Right.
And then the hours, you're talking about the practicum hours, you probably have to have a lot of what you call hospitality service hours or something like that. And so those would go as well to the accredited.
What they do is they get the credit for the class, as well as they take into consideration the contact hours they had in the school year, and they develop those into an equivalent towards most students, when you graduate from the Culinary Institute of America, have to have 2,400 industry volunteer hours or practicum or internship hours. It can be a paid or unpaid, and they count our time, the time that the students, the 2 hours a day that the students have spent in class every day through the school year. They have a formula for how they figure it, and they take off so many hours.
Okay, the only reason I bring it up is actually a hotel degree from Cornell. About 5 years ago, they started to do a dual coursework with the CIA. So now I think in 4 or 5 years, you can get a hotel degree from Cornell and also a degree from the CIA.
Oh, wow.
They started to do the merge.
It's a good marriage.
Yeah, it really is. It's a very practical thing. So if you're being a feeder to the CIA, it can really help with somebody's career.
Yes.
So is it typical for these kids to get paid while they're working in the industry, when they're still getting their credits?
While they're still with us, we have various different types of programs. Our practicum in business management and our career preparation, we have 3 practicum in business managements with approximately this year 70 students enrolled. And then our career preparation has about 35 students, and those are all paid positions. Those are all paid. We also have automotive internship students. We have 3, and those are all paid. And they are actually working at local area car dealerships. As far as anything that's a work-based program within the district, they're not. But like I said, with the hotel management internship, those students get picked up for after-hour work.
If you're in the CTE,
Always a good thing.
how many, say the student's taking 6 courses a semester as a number, how many are CTE and how many are regular math, social studies, English? How many?
Well, because of 4x4, you figure 4 of their 7 periods are automatically taken by the 4 core.
You're just talking too
Okay,
fast.
so you have 7-period day.
Yeah.
Every student is required to take an English, math, science, and social studies every single year.
Okay.
So they have 3 available class periods per year to choose what else to take. There are additional requirements, foreign languages too, fine arts, PE, technology, and then what's left is what they get to choose from.
The so-called electives.
So-called electives.
And really what House Bill 5 did was allow us some flexibility. So we'll have a foundational graduation plan, and in that, every child 8th grade and then continue it, you know, through high school. So it gives them an extra year of that elective opportunity. So the big deal with House Bill 5 is give us flexibility to provide this for kids in their schedule. Because you're right, we are limited to 7 periods a day. And we have lots of programs, Kimberly's programs that she's talking about there. Many of them we offer an 8 period day or a 0 period day. So kids come in before school starts so that they can tack on an 8th class because they want to have room in their schedule to take electives. A kid who's in football or a kid who's in the band, 4 of their classes, because for 4 years those are taken away and they're not going to give that up. So we have the flexibility of starting school early with a 0 period and keeping kids for an hour after school.
And also with night school.
And
I have one of my students employed at Shell this year, has chosen to come back and take a night school class after work because she wanted to be able to be at Shell, where if she had taken a job somewhere else, she would have had to stay one more class period. Shell will only hire them if they can be there by the beginning of 6th period. And so she has chosen to come at night because she gets off at 5 to take a class. And that speaks volumes to me because Shell is also one of those employers who does not turn, the minute the student graduates and leaves our program, many of them gain full-time employment or employment to help them work through college. They offer scholarships, they offer flex hours, and they work around your schedule so that you can continue your education. And so that to me is a very valuable, and that's what we really wanted to work with her. We wanted to make it work for her there.
That's
And
fantastic.
the actual number of students taking CTE programs, which may also be what you're talking about, had an increase of 12% last year. We're hoping actually to have more growth than that ongoing year over year. So more and more students are getting involved.
If I'm understanding what you're saying, there's still 2 tracks. There's the traditional academic track, and then there's some, for want of a better term, there's a vocational track. Well, not a track, that's the wrong one. But
No.
classes.
No.
But my question is there any, are you already, or is there any plan to revamp the curriculum so that instead of taking a math course, you can take a class that includes that math in it?
Yes, that is part of House Bill 5 and part of the applied, your 4th level would be an applied type course. But when I say that, but you have to realize like our engineering program is totally a hard academic. Those kids are going to go to a 4-year college and become an engineer. That's their focus, that's their desire. So they are naturally choosing their 4th math and science already as relevant to what they plan to study in college as possible.
Well, I understand with engineering, but I'm thinking about the broader vocational track. It seems to me that a lot of this, the curriculum can be revamped to include that information. Math, for example. You could put math in just about anything.
Right,
Like
and there are
construction
different.
geometry, for example.
Yeah.
So in construction tracks, their geometry relates to what that course is they take. But for us in Alief, every kid, we say, is on the distinguished plan. Even with House Bill 5, we have a distinguished plan. So we have every child headed towards that distinguished plan. So every course pathway has options, and we help every child move toward that option. If child, parent come to us and say, we want to go this option, which is really not a vocational track, it's just that I'm not going to take Algebra 2. I prefer to take geometry or applied math or something of that nature because I know what I'm going to do next and I know where I'm going to college, I'm okay with that, then that's when we make that decision to make that change.
Michael, this is the debate that's going on right now, is what courses, if you're going to change your curriculum that you're suggesting, what are the courses that we're going to offer that might be let's take welding as an example. It might be a very intense course for welding that is heavy science. Well, up until now, that was not able to count as one of those core courses. We had to offer biology, chemistry, physics, every kid. Now with a little flexibility, the debate that's happening now is, okay, what courses are not going to count for that advanced math or that advanced science? And there's an argument to be made on a lot of CTE courses as well as other courses. Nothing to do with CTE. There's an argument to be made that there are some courses that should count, while simultaneously earning a license or under including the direction of a certificate, at the same time satisfying the state requirement for that math or science. So we're in the process right now at the state level of trying to offer courses that should count. Up until now, going back to your question, Mike, about where in the world they would put this CT course in their schedule, those kids' schedules, when they enter high
think there's another argument there too. I think that when we look at the dropout rate, a lot of the dropout rate is because these kids lose interest in school. They don't see the relevance of the academic programs. And I think you're on the right course here, pulling them back in. My wife teaches 7th grade science, and she had a kid used to sit in the back of her class and draw tennis shoes. And I mean, no matter what she was teaching, he was back there drawing tennis shoes. And so she finally figured out how to relate tennis shoes to what she was teaching.
That's exactly right.
And all of a sudden, this kid's on a career path. I don't know what happened to him, but
Play work tonight.
yeah. Make it sound like
Well, that is an example of, and I'm not saying a piece of legislation is going to fix the end. But without the flexibility and the opportunity to offer courses, and it, you know, we could create a shoe design course. We have a vast majority of our kids in the class designing shoes. But that's how we're going to have to engage students. And that's again, I'm not saying that anything that can be legislated. It just has to be part of the culture.
Yeah. He's exactly right. That's how I spent the first week of teaching. I teach math and science in 3rd grade. And so my first question was, what do you want to be when you want to grow up? When you grow up, what do you want to be? And the next part of that was to incorporate or explain to them how math and science is important in what you want to do. Everything from football to becoming a doctor, everything has math and science in it. So I was drawing routes on the board. I was drawing cc's of insulin on the board. So that's exactly how you reel them in. You don't go in there with a set plan and I'm going to teach this and you don't even know your students. You go in there, you find out what your students like, and then you present their math and their science to them. And that's the way I approach it, and I think that's basically what y'all are doing as well and on the right track.
Well, I think if you ask any community member in any school district across the country about what do they expect out of their public schools, there's a lot of things they expect, but at the end of the day, they expect when a student walks across the stage, they expect to get a diploma, they expect them to be prepared for something. It may be 4-year university, maybe community college, it may be cosmetology, it may be a certificate of something. And that's a reasonable expectation. It's a valid expectation. So in order for us to meet that expectation, we have to have opportunities that address real possibilities that kids are interested in.
Right.
So that hasn't changed since day one, since the beginning of time.
I'm going to say something that might be heresy to some people, but
easy,
I
Mike.
think for a long time, the district put too much emphasis on advanced placement tests. Because not every child is suited to go in or to go to a 4-year college. So something like this, I think, is great. I mean, it's great. It's good for certain students, but I mean, I'm not good at repairing my car, but I need a guy who can fix the engine every once in a while. So I need people who are trained to do that and things like that. And I think this is great that the district is doing this. The only thing I worry is logistic-wise, will come to a point, I mean, as more students go into this, then you need different certified teachers to teach a math course a different way, or one of these other courses. Do you run into space problems? Because now instead of having 25 students in all these, you want to have 10 classes of 25 students. Now you have 20 classes of 12 or 13 students. Maybe we have a good problem to have.
No, that's very good. We'll talk about that a little bit. I mean, as this district over the however many years has increased the number of students participating in meaningful CTE programs. I don't know how many CTE teachers we've added.
We've added 6 in the last 2 years. And we've added, and they're full. I mean,
We'll be coming back again this year.
Yes. And that's one of the things we also look at is innately, we're fortunate that we are as dense in properties, so to speak, as we are, because we are able to bus kids and not have to immediately duplicate the program. So we share. Hastings and Elsik, those kids walk back and forth all day long. Taylor students are bussed over. Yes, there may come a point that we do have to expand and grow. to meet all of those needs. But we, I think, have been very resourceful in how we're using those and how we use the units to make sure that as we build the capacity of the programs, the units are being used to the full extent.
Question, so how does someone become a CTE certified teacher?
There
Let's
are-
say I've got a bachelor's degree and I do this.
What is your bachelor's degree in?
And also in accounting.
Okay, so you're more than likely, you would approach an alternative certification program. Texas Teachers Act Houston are some of the biggest ones in Houston, the Houston area. And you would go in, take your transcript, they would evaluate it. They would determine what area they would best place you. They're going to recommend that you become a 4A generalist. Don't do it.
A what now?
Even though I have 4A generalist.
Do you have years of experience?
You have your, okay, they're going to say 4th through 8th grade generalist. That tends to be where they tell everybody to go. What we're working with those alternative programs on right now is talking about the need for CTE teachers. We need them. And instead of looking at this person with an accounting degree and tending to push them towards that other certification, push them to business education. There's an agricultural science technology education certification, there's a business education certification, there's marketing certification, there's health science, there's family and consumer science, there's trade and industry, there's technology ed. And then once you have become certified in one, like let's say you choose business ed, but you're really great at technology, you can very easily go to add the tech ed because you may decide you love Adobe. You're actually that's your strength. Or you may become our favorite new accounting teacher.
Yeah, what I'm curious to ask is like, you know, I went to A&M, getting Maggie's, and we have these programs, you know, A&M loves to run. So what are we doing to get people who are out of school?
We belong to a Region 4 Career and Tech Directors and Coordinators Association. And that is something we are addressing right now. We are getting ready to start a massive campaign of going to, even if we have to go to the job fairs at the colleges, and we go talk to the colleges. And one of the things we also said is, when we talked to some HR directors, we did, one of the first things they said is, we have to do, those people who are in the classroom, who are teaching and who love to teach, they need to start telling kids it's okay to become a teacher.
That's right.
I like my profession.
And I like my
That's very
profession.
true.
This is who I am, and this is and you have to show it every day that you love what you're doing.
Until
That's so true.
House Bill 5, the big thing out there for the last, almost 8 years, with 8 years, was 4x4 or more than that. CTE, everybody's advice was, don't be CTE certified because you're going to be phased out. Because schools need less and less of it. Now with AB 5, now it's, the opposite is true.
And we
Well,
have
there's also another, tapping the existing workforce, retiring workforce, people in industry that have certifications in their trade and experience in their area. All they're really lacking is pedagogy and some of the instructional side recertifications through alternative certification programs. Is a whole new workforce really opening up that we can pull in with experience.
And Kimberly didn't talk about it, but we have an education and training class that we started last year. And so those kids, worked in their classroom all year, and in the spring, we hooked them up with an elementary school. And so those kids went out to the elementary school, they created bulletin boards for the teachers, they read to the kids, they tutored children. So they got the feel of what being in the classroom was like, what being in the school was like. And then our plan is ultimately that those students will be able to sit for the paraprofessional exam, which would allow them to be an instructional aide in the schools where they could work while they were going to school to get their teaching.
And that's what we're talking about backfilling, because when we brought that program on, we brought it on, and it ended up being a lot of juniors and seniors. Our goal will be actually that they'll take a first level class as a freshman, they'll take that class as a sophomore, and then their junior or senior year, they'll actually go into a practicum of education and training, where they will spend half of their day at various stages of the educational system, whether it be elementary, intermediate, middle, and obviously there are going to be high school students already. So that's our ultimate goal. There's a set of programs of our own as well.
I was going to say only that the program, the first time I see this is, I think the parents have got to be involved with it. And to encourage the kids. This was supposed to be not, the college, of course, is to be the main reason to go for education. But this is the principal part of what we were saying, the start. And I think, like a part of myself, I got to encourage the kid. Say, hey, this is the place right there. Look at what you can do. In high school, And I think I'm gonna do that myself.
I think actually you were accurate in saying in 8th grade, a lot of the decisions are already made for the students because I was in school all year. And there was no interception, if you will, where there was time cultivating preparation to say, hey, what do you want to do, long term outside of this? All it was, hey, this is where your child's going, this is where it's going to be, bam, 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 bam. It was all systematic. There was not a lot of intimacy in regards to making sure this student gets this student gets that, da, 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 da. So my son's already in 9th grade. I'm getting this stuff on the back end. And I'm as a parent with this child in the district, I'm like, and being new to the whole state. So this kind of stuff, there has to be information that comes in with that 8th grade.
We are, see, they're getting rid of all right. We have one teacher there, so we have access to
Right.
whatever students he has, and that's it. But
That's the key, only one teacher.
I know.
Yeah.
And then, but at the 9th grade, when the parents go to the 9th grade night in February every year, we're there. We're there with tables. We have all of our high school programs are there. We're there.
Right, but I understand what you're saying, but February means they've already gone through August to February. So what I'm saying is, we gotta be proactive instead of reactive, because if I'm already in the 9th grade, everything I've done has counted for me towards me getting out of high school. That needs to be done prior to me getting in 9th grade, because
And I think what
February
you're gonna
is
see
already
is some of
happening.
those,
You know what I mean?
some of those advisors are gonna be moving more into the middle school environment.
That'd be a
I
great
think
idea.
they're getting those grades,
Oh, yeah,
affecting those grades.
definitely.
I have a question, because you brought it up, and what's the process or the approval of getting these flexible courses? We talked about science or mathematics, welding. Do you have authority to say this class is going to take that precedent, or does it have to go through the board, or does it go through the education coordinating board, or how does it work to where now with H-5, or you're still working these things out with H-5 to where, the approval is with a certain body, or there's no approval, you just do it because you're the superintendent?
I got the mention.
I got your back. I've been there. Still think it goes fast. Short answer to your question, courses that are counted in the state of Texas, courses that count for graduation purposes, for corporate or approved by the State Board of Education.
Okay.
And they're vetted, and they ensure things that we call them TEKS, T-E-K-S, Texas Technology Schools. They make sure that Algebra 1 course has the right, that we are teaching the right things in Algebra 1. If we come up with a brand new course that we invented today, we all thought it was the greatest course in the world. There's a process for that, which is called the innovative course process. House Bill 5 gives us some flexibility in some other courses. But even with the innovative course that we create specifically for a district, it goes through a vetting process.
Through the coordinating.
Through the State Board of Education.
Okay.
The coordinating board is for higher ed. The State Board of Education is for so it goes through an approval process. So the short answer is that's what we're saying. We would obviously bring courses to our school board and say we would want to offer these courses. They would also bless that. And we would just convert what we're going to introduce.
You have an internal system as well.
Yeah, there are folks like Kim and Bill and Gina and others on the curriculum staff are particularly right now with what I was talking about earlier, we're trying to get some additional courses to count. Have been involved with this for the last 4 or 5 months since I was with 5 sections assigned. I want to go to something Mike talked about real quick. I think it's a very relevant conversation for community folks to have. And it has to do with the content. You use AP as an example. AP, as everyone knows, advanced placement. We have courses in the district, we have campuses that are called AP, there's pre-AP, pre-advanced placement. Those courses, not necessarily by definition, but by definition, are supposed to identify and be taught at a certain level that if a student can master this course and we test, they should be able to master college courses. That's the general idea. For a long time, should take the necessary coursework to make sure that they're prepared to go to their four-year university. So it could be through an AP program, or excuse me, an AP course, it could be through dual credit, it could be through International Baccalaureate, which is another curriculum that we don't have in here, but other people do, so IB, International Baccalaureate. So the fundamental debate, and quite frankly, when I started this debate, the fundamental debate was, should APISD be offering courses and preparing every single student as though they are going to enroll in UM, UT, UH, or SAM, or Purdue, or TSU? Should we be preparing every kid for that post-secondary experience? Or should there be some flexibility in there for the kids who we know are not going? And I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that not every single student is going to want to, or going to have the skills, or the ability to go to a four-year university. In some cases, it's a two-year. So that fundamental question about, and a lot of people, while they didn't use AP as an example, but they did say, including myself, that we have a system that is beginning in the 7th grade, 8th grade, it is automatically funneling kids into a very narrow set of courses and preparing them for a very narrow future, and at the expense of programs that you just heard tonight, extracurricular programs. And so, that's a debate that I think is a healthy debate. I think the state would weigh in on it. The state has come in, our elected officials have come in and said, no, we think it was too narrow, and overall didn't. And since we got this piece of legislation. Now, a lot of pressure is being put on this piece of legislation because now we've got to follow through.
Yeah.
I was with the commissioner this morning, said, you got what you asked for, you know. Do it. That's just true. And so that's kind of our position. I mean, that's kind of, I want to, and I brag, and we'll pound our chest about this. That we have an increased number of students taking AP courses. That's great. We have an increased number of students scoring at a higher level on the AP test. That's great. And that's great for those students, but we also have to have meaningful courses for the young man or the young lady who's not in that AP course that actually mean something. And here we go, long-winded, circling this back. Up until the last few years, in most cases, the CTE courses or the electives that students were taking were really not very meaningful. They were being plucked out of the air and plugged into a period based on where I could fit into my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So I may take a CTE course, but the only reason I'm taking it is because I need that elective and a junior.
Yeah.
It's got to be
Right.
work. It's not just CTE, same way with music, fine arts. So that was a part of the fundamental reason why I felt what we were doing right now was a disservice to our students and ultimately to our economy. So that's kind of where I think the debate is, and I think that we need to continue having that conversation.
I want to give you a personal example, I think kind of breaks this off. I was talking to my brother, Brandon, 3 years ago, we were living in the same town straight now, and his wife worked for a private oil company. I didn't even know his own brother, that he graduated high school, got his GED, but he graduated from Exxon. He created a process for cleaning the tanks, trade the tanks of the industry, national recognition. It's a private contract, they can grant that money. What I'm trying to say is, we kind of got away from dirt under the fingernails kind of work. We made something to be ashamed of. We've got to tell people that plumbers are a lot of money, electricians are a lot of money. Like my brother with a GED, worked your AC.
Yeah, call them to put some Freon in there and watch how much.
Just the other day, I heard it drives me nuts. 40 college, 40, it's great, that's fine. Just as a kind of thing. We need to show the kids, kids want to follow the money. Okay? Right now, for most kids where I work at Chamber Elementary School, they see it in athletics, they see it in entertainment. I tell our kids, hey, you know what this people call electricians, they pay good money. These guys call plumbers, they pay good money. Nobody's talking to them about it. And we have to do that to fight that propaganda that's out there, and everybody has to wear some tie. Sorry.
Not too big.
I
could get around to, if we're talking about it, is infrastructure. I don't know what kind of courses it takes to get a kid prepared for infrastructure, because we're talking about massive projects. Do we have anything like that, we're just going to pluck people off the street?
I mean, a lot of the infrastructure stuff and a lot of the jobs that are related to that, a lot of them have gone through either, and there were some there. The infrastructure positions that were actually listed under that are going to be more like 2-year construction management type of positions. But most construction management type of things, where they're building the big infrastructure for big complexes, are going to have started in some type of construction. And then you do have your urban planning group, and that comes through your GIS and those type of things. And so that is there. No, we do not have that side. That's one of the areas that we're looking at right now in House Bill 5. And finally talking with our social studies coordinator, who has only ever been able to focus on the required courses and not on electives, not on options for kids within their content. And so this is a mindset change for our curriculum coordinators in language arts, social studies, and math. Science, because the 4th science was chosen, she's had a little bit more fun in choosing a 4th science for kids, but our other 3 have been so tested and everything, and so prescribed what every kid had to take as part of the plan. They are just now starting to have aha moments, and it's fun to watch them go, don't worry about testing, don't worry about, think about where the careers are, think about where the jobs are. And it's just a fun thing.
Working at the same time as working out.
But when he's in town, let him come talk to my construction tech kids.
Yeah, send me there so I can talk to him.
I think we need to go visit him.
Right.
Well, a second.
My son went to Rice, but he didn't get the education he wanted, so he went to Houston Community College, went through their real estate program, was getting certified, got certified in real estate. He said, now I can get a job. And a lot of his friends who graduated were just floating around doing stuff. And that's a high-end school. But when they were building the West Park Toll Road out here, right next to my office, a couple times I went out and talked to the construction superintendent. And he said 90% of his workers were foreigners. They're Hispanics coming up. He said, because we couldn't hire anybody in America. We had nobody who was prepared or trained to do this work.
Wow.
We're a major employer in the area with the number of employees that we have, half of which are teachers. And so as long as the population is growing, we need to grow more teachers too. But at the same time, we've had years now where we can't get plumbers, electricians, HVAC repairmen that are certified. And what we see out in the industry in home construction is you got one certified plumber running maybe 5, 6 subdivisions.
Mm-hmm.
They're double checking somebody else's work.
Right.
Because there's some pretty good math that has to be learned in order to be a master electrician or master.
My dad was a pipe fitter, and the math that he used was above college algebra in many cases.
One of the industries that got behind legislation was Toyota. Toyota has a plant south of San Antonio, and all that plant does is make homes. Every Toyota company in the United States and the world is made in this plant south of San Antonio. 6,000 employees. They would build, the vice president of Toyota told me they would build another plant right next to it tomorrow. Take a fully staffed Toyota plant they've got right now with machine work, instrument, technicians. And those salaries anywhere from $70,000 a year, $120,000 a year.
I'll do it. Me too.
If you look at the aging workforce too, and we see that there's a problem now, but remember, there's some lag time here, and to catch up with this deficit that we have in the workforce is being compounded by the age of the workers now that are leaving the workforce.
There's a sense of urgency that I don't think everyone really senses yet. There is a sense of urgency on K-12 to begin producing still those college, those kids who are going to four-year universities, going to Rice, and engineering. We also have to focus on making sure we have fix that engineer's talk. Prepare their air conditioning.
And I like to always say that they all can go to college and work. They can all be ready to go, but they need to have the freedom of choice to choose to not go and to take take this other route, and that it's going to take such a little route, but we need to have them all ready to go.
The choice has to be, I'll be quiet after this, I've said this before. Yeah, I don't know if I told you, y'all know the most popular college degree? Class of 2012, across the state of Texas. Every university, public, private, do you know the most popular bachelor degree, baccalaureate degree?
Is it business? Management?
General studies.
Psychology.
Really? Boy.
May 2012, the same month these young men and young women received their diploma, there were 6 postings for psychologists. We have to do a little bit, we educators.
See, I'm
College
not
advisors.
going back to clinical psychology, that's what I was going for. Ladies.
My point is, we have to do a good job advising.
Wow.
While choice is important, we also have to take a look at where the job's going to be, where's the labor market. I mean, I would, and I'm going to go back to your Calvin question. I would, if we had Calvin, I think we'd have more kids that we could serve. But I don't know where they would go to work.
So I have one question that ties into this, and so it's about House Bill 5, the flexibility, so I know who are staff local CTE. But what about counselors? Because I was an AP student and I was pipeline through PAP, right? But I wasn't a conversation with my parents. It was because I was competing against another student in class. And they said, I'm applying. And I was like, I'm applying too. So then there was AP, so I was like, you gonna do it? I'm gonna do it too. So it was more about my ego, right? So are we staffing up counselors? Because I couldn't tell you who my counselor was in high school.
Absolutely, and their workload is incredible. In fact, we're addressing that even just in this most recent budget. There are additional counselors.
We have 2 counselors for high school.
I don't know, were we doing anything for middle schools to get them ready?
The 2 that we added for high school are going to provide some hours, which are administration. So we'll probably have to address that.
I want to correct some, so those are the same court on Sunday.
Grab too much food. I'll calm down over there.
Well, there's plenty of these brochures also, folks, and then you can help us with some of that marketing that you're talking about. We can get these.
Jill, do you want to just real quickly, Mike, I know you're a part of this advisory committee. Yes. A comment about the group that you have, about the guys and how you use them.
Within the, which you mean currently for CTE in the district?
Well, the advisory committee from outside.
Okay, we've done it a number of ways, and currently we pull in community leaders, business leaders, former students, parents, all to get their input on not only the local perspective, but also the regional perspective and what they're aware of and what their thoughts are. We take that information, Kimberly and I create advisory committees on specific areas. For example, we'll bring in engineers for our engineering advisory, our people for that, so we can get all this input from the folks. So that helps us develop our concepts of programming looking forward down the road several years. We combine that with workforce data, workforce projections, like what Kimberly shared, and that helps us get that scope of what are our students going to be needing right away and what might they be needing down the road a little way.
Bill, you forgot the best benefit,
What was that?
lunch and earning teachers.
That's true, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you all, we appreciate the time.
Thank you guys, appreciate it. Thank you. The next meeting is August the 8th, we're going to spend some time.
I told you. That's a Freudian slip.
October 8th, we're going to spend some time that afternoon, that evening, speaking and talking about fine arts, extracurricular, and things that we were told that this, so we're going to talk a little bit about how we offer that, to encourage students. And then before we leave, last thoughts, and this is more designed to be an opportunity for you guys to bring up questions, concerns, issues that are on your mind, or things that need to be more, things we need to be aware of. So I know Dr. Billings mentioned something here that mentioned that you have the opportunity. So we always want to make sure we give you an opportunity to share with us what they say now, what they say now.
two hearings, the school board election, is that November?
Yeah, November 5th,
Okay, so it's within June Junction Hall, city election.
November 5th, I don't know the area, I don't know all that, so it'll be on our website. October 27th. If you check our website, we'll have voting locations and times and all that stuff. We have, I think I mentioned, we have 4 positions up. We have Mr. Cook, Ms. Winkler, Ms. Jefferson, and Mr. O.
Is Gary running again?
Mr. Cook has chosen not to run. He is not seeking re-election. One of the other community members is seeking a position, Tiffany is running in that position. So both Tiffany, Ms. Winkler, Ms. Jefferson, the opponents. Mr. O did not draw an opponent for the election, so filing is over, withdrawal is over. It's all over with the campaign now. So that is, thank you for going right over that.
I think that's all the one was
Go back to the last call, is there anything that we need to be aware of, or you need to have on our radar?
Well, this kind of changed today, but I was going to tell you all about it anyway. There's on Winkleman, where Alief ISD has 2 schools, Albright Middle and Petrosky. Winkleman, yeah. It's between Alief Clothing and Bel Air, and about 3/4 of that street on one side of the street, it's a north-south street, it has the 2 schools and a large section of vacant land between the 2 that Alief owns. And then you cross, if you're going south, you cross the bridge over by you, then there's 2 shopping centers that are not in very good shape, and then Bel Air. And we've had a lot of trouble with people that are truckers for a living, and they like to park along there. And it's become, I think, and Mike has worked on this for quite some time, a real safety hazard for our kids, because when Albright has dismissal, it's like swarms of kids suddenly materialize on Winkleman. And you know how the kids of that age group are. They horse around in the street and they do all kinds of crazy things. And so you've got 18-wheelers covering up where they're walking and you can't tell they're there, and then the next thing you know, they're out in the street. So we've been working and working and working. Today I got an email from Paul, I haven't had a chance to tell you, Paul Hawkins, who is an engineer for Harris County, Precinct 3, and they are going, and I hope the school, I'm not stepping on school board toes, but they have decided that they will do a feasibility study on Winkleman right there and see if they think it's in the best interest and safety of our kids to change the signage and prohibit the trucks from parking there.
Well, I have contacted the city commission if you want to talk to that person. They actually oversee the parking and those things, so I can give you their name, phone number, email address, and they will make it stop. Because we had that same problem on Spice Lane and Landis, and I made this contact.
Yeah, that's the issue with this one, is it's not in the city.
It's on the outskirts.
Yeah, and then, so she went to the county, and just to let you, kind of give you an overview, the county's building code is still in the days of cattle pastures. And so it takes a lot to put some signage up in the areas of Houston, which are really part of the county, but not part of the actual city limits or the extraterritorial.
So it's in Harris County.
It's in Harris County.
Yeah, it's Harris.
But you're right, and we have used the city, because the city does have an ordinance that allows us to write tickets, and our police officers can write tickets on the park cars.
I saw the chain of emails earlier, this afternoon, so do we know, I mean, is it homeowners or property owners in that area that are just parking their trucks on the side, or is it actually?
They're
stopping there to sleep?
No, there's one of them is a resident, lives right across from Petrosky,
Okay.
and he's the biggest one. But there's been several others. In fact, one of the HOAs finally got one of them towed the other day. He was parked on the bridge overnight. They hooked him up about 3 o'clock in the morning, towed him off. So,
But only because he exceeded a weight limit.
It was his weight limit.
But otherwise, he would have never been towed.
It's a lot of, that's funny you mentioned that, because I was going to say, on our docket, it needs to be transportation. We're having some serious challenges with transportation, to the point where My daughter was supposed to be dropped off at 4:15. They showed up at 4:46. We were not able to get anybody on the horn to find out exactly where those babies were at. We're having some major problems with communicating because the buses, what I've noticed even last year with volunteering all year long, when payday comes, they disappear. I'm talking about in excess of 10, maybe 15 buses. Literally, they don't, oh, this bus driver's not coming, because I answered the phone. And I would get the calls from transportation, hey, this bus not coming, this bus not coming, this bus not coming. And it was always paydays. And it's getting to be totally out of control. It's bad. And the kids, we have had them behind those 18-wheelers, you can't find them because they're skipping. So you're trying to find them and looking through a field, but it's a truck right there. You can't tell what's on the other side of that 18-wheeler. So it's a major problem.
So would the school district be interested in communicating with the engineer that's involved?
Well, Charles, this is in your
support?
field, isn't it?
I'll forward the information to you. The emails have been going back and forth.
I forwarded whatever emails that y'all sent.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you've got most of it.
But yeah,
There's no, I was gonna say, there's a problem with like McClellan Park. I mean, it's,
This is true.
there's no residents around, but a lot of people, it's a park west of 6, just south of the Walmart.
Walmart, yeah.
Off West Park, and it's kind of tough, and it's a great little park, and it's used all the time, but there's 18-wheelers there, and, parked all up and down. I always worry about kids running down between.
Well, maybe you can use the
That's really
Methodist.
like no man's land down there.
Well,
Maybe you can use the Methodist Church's school as something, because when I was just talking about the general problem, I didn't get too much attention. It was always a difficult way of getting things done, and everything was impossible. When I described the situation the kids were going through and the drivers trying to dodge the kids, all of a sudden there was more interest. So I don't know what we can use to get attention there, but I agree with you 100%. I even have some photos of that area right there.
so their response now is they're going to do it. They're considering doing it.
They have agreed to do it. I have the email, but I got it today.
What are they
Go
going
girl.
what solution?
The idea is, what they have to offer is a sign that just simply says that the 18-wheelers or trucks in general are forbidden. They did this on Empanada between Highway 6 and Taylor High School. I don't know the whole story about that, but I talked to this engineer, Paul Hawkins, and when he was not cooperating with me, and I told him about that and said, well, how did that get done? And that didn't have to go through a bunch of hoops, apparently. But anyway, they did a feasibility study. They decided the 18-wheelers were a problem. They put up the signs forbidding them. What they try to shove down all of our throats is go around to the HOA, get 25%, get someone from the homes, 25% of the homes to say, yeah, we'd like to have a sign put up. And this is what they tried to get me to go along with. And we'll put up a sign that says they can't be there from 10 p.m. at night till 6 a.m. in the morning. Well, that doesn't help our kids one bit. That is not the school zone hours.
No, that's the sleep hours.
So if this feasibility study goes our way and they agree with that, then they would put up signs just forbidding them at all times.
but who enforces that once it's up?
Then we have to start doing the same old thing, calling the deputies. Yeah, it's up to us.
The feasibility study, we can weigh in on the safety factor and help get.
Well, that's what we were hoping
That
to get
would
from
be
you guys.
great. That'd just be great.
This is almost like those overpasses. We just need the school district behind us.
Yeah, like you did for that. That'd be great.
We discussed a little bit last month about budget values and so forth. In September, Harris County Appraisal District has come out with their certified values, and we saw a 19% increase, which is kind of unprecedented. I think one time in the last 15 years it's been over 20%. So what has the district seen? And I think you're going down a penny, or is it more than a penny?
Across the entire district, across all of our district, 3 points, almost a little less than 4% increase.
A little less than 4?
Yes, 3.86.
Because obviously we're commercial and that's heavy.
Commercial, residential. When you take West Chase out of it, when you take the residential out of it, West Chase
Is that level throughout the district? The house, is the residential fairly even throughout the district, or?
I think so. Anyway, I hope so. Yes.
Well, I'm president of the MUD board also, and so I get our assessments monthly. And what I've seen is in Mission Bend, in the general area of Mission Bend, we've lost as much as 25% of our property value over the last 5 years. And we've got some areas that have lost 50% in 3 years. And I mean, we've got $100,000 homes that are now valued at 50, and they're lucky to sell them at 50 in the Clayton area. So I'm curious to see if there's a rise coming up, because that was one of the things behind this management district we're trying to create is to stabilize the property values. I haven't seen any increases yet. I've seen it bottom, but I haven't seen it coming back up yet. And if it starts coming back up, it's going to take a whopping big increase to get back to where it was 5 years ago.
Across the entire district.
And that's tax money to you guys.
Absolutely.
It's generally not jumping in residential anywhere at any kind of speed again. I mean, it's, except some of the newer neighborhoods to the west and to the north.
Well, that's what we're finding. The new neighborhoods are sucking up the increments.
Right. To answer your question, I mean, we're, Shadow Lake area, Rural Oaks area, generally slight increases to offset some of the losses we're seeing. But across the entire district, we budgeted a 3% increase, and it came in, like I say, a little less than 4.
We dropped the board set the budget, passed the budget, it was a 3 penny.
3 penny, okay. And how does that shake out between INS and
All items.
all INS?
Where does Alief, I keep looking at the map, I'm a little unclear as to where Alief actually begins and where it ends. What's that scope?
North border is Westheimer.
Mhm.
The south border that runs from the northwest to the southeast is the county line between Harris County and Fort Bend County.
Is that like heading towards
Starts
Sugar
up
Land or
at
something?
Starts up at George Bush Park.
Okay, I know where
towards
that's at.
Katy,
Started
and draw a line straight down to Stafford, pretty much.
Okay,
That's the county line.
okay.
Crosses Bissonnette, Beach Nut, Hilaire, Belfort, and so forth. Crosses across Highway 59 and Double A8.
Okay, I know where that's
The
at.
boundary on the far east side is pretty much Gessner.
And so all of that is outside of Houston city limits?
No.
Not all of it.
25% of our district is in the county and not in the city.
Right. In the, wait, hold on.
What's the
Shoot, I'm
city?
confused, okay.
We're gonna have to get you a map.
Yeah. I see the map, but me being from a different, living in different states, it's like, whoa.
We have different incorporated, they're unique in that.
There's a lot of overlapping.
I have a map. I don't
One more announcement, but it's not, this is something for interest. We've been working with Grady President, who's the Fort Bend County Commissioner out in our area. And Fort Bend is having a bond election. I think it's only the second bond election they've ever had in the county. And part of that bond election is to put Bel Air through to 1464. And so, and also Beach, I think, on wide and take that to 1464, which will do a lot to open up the west side of Mission Bend. So the bond election's coming up in November. None of us can vote in it, but it's just so that you know that that's happening. But we've been working with the commission on that for about.
Because y'all on the board, your mission on that mission west side.
Vote for it.
We're in the third week of school.
I have one comment. My father said y'all need a jumbotron, so y'all want to teach it. He said the other schools, why doesn't AU have jumbotrons? You can see the games, and I'm like, Daddy.
You're a turf fan.
Yeah. He was so excited about the turf and the track, and he thought this was great. We said y'all need a jumbotron.
Tell him that's how we got the drop of tax rate.
Exactly. He stopped complaining about that.
Even on tax rate.
Right. He said he has no kids in school, he wants his money back, and he wants a jumbotron for the rest of the game. I feel on that.
It was a little tough.
It was tough.
It was tough.
Extremely.
Right.
We'll, I don't know if you'll get the PowerPoint, you'll get a hard copy of the PowerPoint.
Greg emailed it last time.
Yeah, last time we got it, but not this, we haven't this one yet.
We can copy that. But anyway, let us know how we can help on the Lincoln issue. We can take care of that, and then we'll correct the face on the transportation. October 8th?
So, Ray,
Good. You there? Come to the Thank you, guys. Have a good evening. Thank you.